institute stand apart. So one is this year we are celebrating our 50-year anniversary. So it's been 50 years. So one of the oldest B schools in the country. Second is our location. So we are located in the corporate hub of Gurgaon, wherein most of the Fortune 500 companies in India are based. So that eventually has its spillover effects in terms of placements, corporate relations, alum relations. Then we have our alum base, which is very, very strong across the globe. Third is our international partners, international opportunities. Fourth is the field-based curriculum and projects that basically help us give a practical approach to all our management programs. And last is our faculty, which has been doing a lot of consulting nationally, internationally, and is involved in applied management research, whose learnings actually fuel into the not only the classroom, but also student relations. So that's something we are known for. We are consistently ranked in the top 10 B schools in the country. And our programs, our flagship program is our 18-month program, which is now, the duration has expanded to almost 2 years. It's called PGDM-BM, Postgraduate Diploma in Management, Business Management. So it's for people with at least 5 years of experience, and one of the most diverse programs, and wherein a lot of students come via GMAT. The other one is the usual programs wherein the average work experience is around 2 to 3 years. The young undergrads post their undergrad actually join or with a few years of work experience. And then we have a very special program, which is PGDM IB, International Business, wherein partly the program is done in India and partly it is done in ESCP Europe. So that's a twining program. So that's again one of the specialities, and a lot of students opt for it because then they have career opportunities in both India and the Indian subcontinent and in Europe. So that's just about our B school, as well as maybe the programs. Not all of them, but I think the more relevant ones for this conversation.
Thank you, Nakul. It was great. Yeah. And congratulations for completing 50 years.
Thank you.
Gale, would you like to go next? Please tell us what stands out in your B school. What makes it so special?
Sure. Thank you. It's great to be here with all of the viewers today from beautiful Bloomington, Indiana. I represent the Kelley School at Indiana University in Bloomington. It's a little different from Gurgaon, having been to Gurgaon a bunch of times. Bloomington is a classic Midwestern American university town, a very vibrant place, and really a wonderful place for someone from India, Pakistan, Nepal, or elsewhere around the globe to spend a couple of years. Our program is a 2-year full-time MBA program. Students go to school during the academic year, and then in the summer in between, they do an internship, usually with a company in the United States, although students are welcome to do an internship wherever they like. Our program is really perfect for career switchers. And most of our students do want to make a career switch. They might want to go from, let's say, engineering into product management, or accounting to consulting, or even arts or music into some kind of business career. We do many things in our program to help position students for that kind of change. They include not only the classes, but our academies, which students all take part in, that serve as a kind of bridge between classes and the careers that students choose. And we do a great deal of professional development with our students, beginning even before students matriculate into the program. We have an orientation program that we call Me Inc. that all of our students take part in, that helps students think about their skills, their experience, their personality, and what they might like to do in the future, how to develop their personal brand, how to network, and many other things. We have a very warm, supportive culture, where we work individually with all of our students to help them achieve their goals. And I think that really makes for a special and valuable MBA experience for our students. So I'll stop there for the moment.
Thank you, Gale. It is very interesting to hear that people can switch their subjects, and also glad that you were in Gurgaon before, and nice to know that. Okay, Anum, I'll come to you now. So tell us something about, that special about your Imperial Business School, and how does it stand out?
Perfect, thank you very much, and thank you to everyone joining live and to my fellow panelists here. So yeah, hello from London. So Imperial College Business School is situated in London, and we are part of Imperial College London. So that's our university, which is highly ranked top 10 in the world for the best universities. We are part of the business school. So at the business school, we're situated in South Kensington alongside Imperial College London. We're part of the cultural part of London, the green part of the city. It's beautiful. It's surrounded by Hyde Park. It's easily accessible to the city centre and the financial districts. And in terms of who we are as the London city, we're an entrepreneurial city. We have all the large tech companies around us who have their European headquarters here. We're a gateway between the East and the West for time zones as well. And at the business school and at Imperial College, we have a very large international community of students that join us from all over the world. And so we're very proud of our community and the students that we bring on board. So when it comes to our teaching, the business school is very passionate about innovation. Innovation is at the heart of how we operate as a business school, through the teaching, through the environment that you're learning. And our mission is to inspire brilliant minds. So we want you to become a future business leader. And so when we teach you, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a blend of technology, innovation. We encourage you to have that entrepreneurial mindset. So I think that's what really differentiates us as a business school and where we're situated in London. We offer a range of different programs. So we have an MBA portfolio of programs where we offer 4 different MBA programs. One of them is our full-time MBA, and it's really designed for those people with a minimum of 5 years of full-time work experience. And then we also have our MSc programs, and we've got 15 MSc programs on offer. So there's lots of different programs that we have at the business school, and an exciting environment that we encourage students to really become part of the business school community and really take ownership of their learning. So I'll stop there and let you carry on, Upashana.
Thank you, Anum. Yes, it's fantastic to hear from you, Anum. It's really very vibrant and very different kind of courses you have. It's really nice. So now my next question is about the classes. So what happens when we are planning to study abroad or any courses? The first driving factor is to go and do offline classes to experience the classroom. So about that, so are the classes completely offline now, or you are still adapting the hybrid mode? What did international students should expect when they are traveling abroad for studies? Anum or Gale, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I can go. So in London, the COVID restrictions have now been lifted. So we are actually back on campus. All of the teaching is back on campus. Our students are on campus. And it's so great to see everyone, back in the normal sort of environment where they're learning in class with their peers and the faculty. So the plan for our September start date is also going to be on campus. With COVID, we've adapted to a sort of multi-mode teaching model, but we're now encouraging all students to come to London, move to London for their full-time study and experience that on-campus learning environment, because it is absolutely sort of the way to go forward, where you get to see your classmates, you get to work together, you get to experience London. So I think for anyone moving to London, it's important to sort of plan ahead, it's important to think about where you're going to live, and really prepare for your studies and that experience. Our programs are 12 months full time, so it will fly by. So you want to make use of like all the facilities available and all the experiences that you can build on whilst you're a student studying on campus.
Okay, great to hear that. Yes, because on campus is a different kind of an experience altogether. What about you, Gale? So what do students expect and how the classes are going on right now?
Yeah, thank you. We too are fully back in person and have been for quite some time now. Even our last academic year was fully in person. And so students can expect to be here and enjoy the full experience of being on campus, learning in class with their classmates. So that's just great. And the activities, clubs, and social events are back too. So that's wonderful. Unfortunately, one of the things that's hung on a little bit from this pandemic period that I think our listeners should be prepared for is just some challenges and delays in getting visas, getting appointments at the embassies and things like that. What we are advising for all of our incoming students is to get their documentation in order and submitted to the university as quickly as they possibly can so that they can receive the necessary documentation back from the university and then schedule their appointment at the embassy. We know how stressful and worrisome it is for students until they get that study visa. So the earlier that students can get a jump on that whole process, the better off they'll be.
And what about you, Nakul? So if the foreign students come to India and study, what are the things they have to look out for? What are the classes? Is it offline? Are you still going on online or something? If you would like to shed some light on that.
Yeah, so at MDI, I think the situation is pretty same as Gale suggested. So we've been offline for quite few months now. Now, the only constraint is that sometimes in the recent past, there have been these lockdowns. So because of which, this classes had to be abruptly shifted online, but that is not happening. So we are mostly offline. But for foreign students, a visa is an issue, right? And they have to plan well in advance, right? So a lot of our exchange students are coming in from across Europe, right? So a lot of our students are going in, right? So what is happening is that I think the universities are wanting them. We are wanting for the students to come in. The only problem is if their documentation has been processed well in advance, and in case even they are prepared, but let's say they're not getting an appointment at the embassy or for some reason or the other, those delays are there. So I think documentation challenges, and for a few candidates, what I also heard was the acceptance of the vaccine. So that is another challenge, maybe a very minor one, but since a lot of listeners would be maybe planning for their trips across B schools, not just MDI, but at Indiana or at Imperial. So I think these things can be taken care of, right? So that definitely helps. And proper documentation. I think timely move and documentation. These two things should help in smooth movement across countries.
Thank you. That is something that's very important point, that you have to plan ahead and
Yes.
you have to be prepared with your documentation wherever you want to apply, because visa requires a lot of documentation. So you have to plan really ahead and be very meticulous while arranging every document that you are using for your visa. So next question is there opportunity for funding and financial support? And do you have any special privileges for non-engineers and women? Nakul, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah, so see, so I'll just answer this question. So we have a very special program, which I did not mention. A version of it used to be like an evening or a part-time program, which has now been converted into a PGDM executive management, right? So now there and a lot of candidates are funded by their employers themselves, right? So that is one, let's say, source of funding. The other one is the usual full-time 2-year program, MBA program, which is called as PGDM, right? So therein we have different scholarships. So one of the scholarships is called OP Jindal Scholarship. The other one is Poonam Gyanchandani Memorial Scholarship. So, and all of them are merit and means based. So in case you are meritorious and you require funding given your financial and other background, so there are scholarship opportunities which are there, right? So that's about it. And as far as special privileges for non-engineers and women are concerned, I think currently most of our admission process, it's a holistic process. So you have scores, you have profiles, and other requirements which are there. So they together basically help you in getting an admission into the programs. So specifically saying about, let's say, non-engineers or women, I don't think I would have much material on that part, to be very honest.
Understood. Thank you so much. What about Anum? Anum, can you tell us something about special privileges you have or funding? What is there for Imperial?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have scholarship funding available to all students, and it's open to international students, domestic students as well. We have a fair amount of scholarships available. There's a women's scholarship as well, for example, for the full-time MBA program. And these scholarships are available across the different programs that we have on offer. Some of them are merit-based. Some of them are based on sort of your strength within your application and the impact that you have as an applicant. So just to mention, with the scholarships, of course, they are limited. Some of them do have specific deadlines. If you are targeting any scholarships, please do look at the deadlines and look at the criteria for each individual scholarship. Some of them may require an individual sort of separate application. At the moment, we're accepting video applications, but that's post submission of your application. So the scholarship process does take place after you've submitted your application. So I would advise you to sort of just check the fees and funding pages that we have on the website and just understand each criteria and how much amount we have allocated for each scholarship. But yeah, it's open to all applicants, and there are a few different ones. There's some regional scholarships as well.
Thank you so much. That is very, very helpful for all our listeners today. And Gale, would you like to talk about it as well?
Sure. We too have scholarships available for students. They're merit-based scholarships, and there's no special application or anything that's required for a student to be considered for scholarship funding. We just automatically look at all of our admitted students and award scholarships based on their application strength and things like that. So that's great. There's nothing special for non-engineers, but we're always excited to see applications from people with all kinds of professional backgrounds. For women, in the last few years, we have automatically granted Forte fellowships to all of our incoming women's students. For those who aren't familiar with Forte, it's an organization based here in the United States that advocates for women in business at both the graduate and the undergraduate level. Our school has been a member of Forte for some 15 years now, and they put on a wonderful summer conference, pre-MBA programs that are great, all kinds of things that help the students become stronger students and professionals, and also to help them interact with recruiters or prospective employers. So I would urge our women in the audience to take a look at Forte, that's F-O-R-T-E, as an organization, and to see what schools participate in Forte that they might be interested in. It's a really great opportunity.
Yeah, whoever is listening, please listen, look it up, and thank you for all the information that you have shared today. So tell us a little bit about the admission process. How do you look for candidates who want to stand out in the lot? And in the meantime, share some tips and tricks for successful application. Gale, if you'd like to go first, please.
Sure. Well, similar to what Nakul was saying a little earlier, we too take a holistic approach to admissions, and there are a number of different components to the application process. So students will submit, of course, their academic records, a completed application essay, a letter of recommendation, GMAT scores or GRE scores. We have been offering a GMAT or GRE waiver application process for the last couple of years. So students can apply for a GMAT waiver. There's information about that on our website, and students can consider whether they want to do that or not. We then screen through the applications and invite a certain number of applicants to interview. And so we'll conduct a Zoom-based interview or sometimes an in-person interview. I'm hoping to make a trip to India again this year to interview candidates. So hoping that works out. That was the last place I was before the pandemic, actually. So hoping to return. But that's really how our process works. In terms of special tips and tricks, a few things I would say are, first of all, be yourself in your application and in your interview. We are not looking for a formulaic application. We don't only admit people who look like this and not people who look like that or have this kind of background, not that background. So really be yourself, express your career goals, and also tell us why you're interested in our school. Do your research and talk about what you've learned about the school that appeals to you. If you have friends or family, or you've talked to student ambassadors at our school, tell us what you've learned from them and why that interests you. One other tip I would suggest is realize that every interaction that you have with people from the school matters. We receive hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications, and you want to stand out in a positive way. So when you have an appointment scheduled, be prepared, be on time, be enthusiastic. We've seen candidates, unfortunately, kind of shoot themselves in the foot, not showing up for a scheduled appointment or not coming with any questions or any apparent interest. So make sure that you're really showing up as your best when you meet with one of our team or even with our student ambassadors.
Great. So being punctual is one of the key things that you need to, focus before going to the admission. What about Nakul? Nakul, would you like to tell us some tricks and tips of standing out in MDI?
I think Gale has summarized it pretty nicely. So I think one thing which I would like to focus more on is have clarity on your post-MBA career goals. See, and also how are you a fit for the institution? What happens is that when we are applying for a master's program in management or an MBA, to hedge our risk, a lot of times I've seen students apply for more than one institute, right? So that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The idea is for every institute, please curate your application. That is very important. Now, the reason for that is that the institute wants to know that how are you going to add value to the institute and what specific value the institute can bring to the table for you, right? So that is very important. That's one. Second is having clarity about your post-MBA career goals helps you not only navigate the application process, but also your MBA, right? So how your learnings are going to coalesce together to actually enable you for a good career ascent or transformation, right? So that's very important. So I think that also helps you to stand out in your application process. And when I say application process, it's all the components. So whether it is the written submission, whether it is the personal interview. So all of these components, if probably are garnished with the flavor of these things, I think that will enrich your application. Besides that, I think a good entrance score. So whether it is a GMAT score or there are other entrance examinations that we accept, particularly for domestic candidates. For international, it's GMAT mostly. some of the programs. So I think that is very, very important, and being mindful of not only timelines, but the way you are representing your work experience, because I've seen a lot of students not being able to appropriately represent their work experience. So they've done good work, right? But somehow they are confused whether it is a full-time work experience, whether it is a part-time, how it will be counted. So these small things actually, if are taken care of, and I think most of them can reach out to us. I mean, our team here at MDI or at Indiana or at Imperial, and most of the people would be more than happy to answer those questions, but you have to reach out, right? And with questions which are clear and unequivocal. So I think that's what I would like to add to what Gale just mentioned.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. Anum, would you like to talk a little bit about Imperial, about tips and tricks and application process?
I think Nakul and Gale have pretty much mentioned very similar things to how we operate when it comes to the application process. So at Imperial, all of the applications are made online. And there's several different documents that make up your application, so that the admissions team will take a very holistic approach to reviewing the application. So, you know, things like your CV, your personal statement, there's a careers section, for example, there's 2 references you have to provide. You know, these things are all taken into consideration when reviewing an application, and they're extremely important. But as Nakul mentioned, you know, thinking about your career goals and how the program aligns and helps you achieve these career goals are extremely important, because you have many different business schools that have amazing program offerings. You want to think about which business school will help you achieve your career goal, and the program learnings, what you're going to achieve from you know, the content of the program, the modules. You need to think about all of these things before you actually apply for a business school. So doing your research in advance, I would say, is one of my tips. You know, research the business school, research the program, and think about how it aligns with your career goals, because we will be looking at that in the application. We want to see a good fit with your career goals and the business school program that you're choosing for yourself. We also want to get to know you. You know, as Gale and Nakul mentioned, we receive hundreds and hundreds of applications. We want to get to know you on paper. So let us know who you are, what your passions are, you know, any key achievements that you have today. If you have 6-7 years of full-time work experience, what have you done in those years and how you've progressed? Make sure we can clearly see that, so that you can stand out from, you know, the hundreds of applications that we receive. Then, of course, you know, you've got the entry requirements, things like GMAT or GRE, what your references are saying about you. That's also extremely important, choosing the right references for yourself. So I think these are the type of things we will be looking out for, but, you know, we're not looking for a one person, one profile fits all. We're looking for, you know, a different profile. We're looking for unique experiences. We're looking for passionate people who are passionate about studying at the business school. I'd also sort of advise you to speak to current students, you know, attend events, find out more about the program itself, and that will definitely help you prepare your application. So just a few things I'll add on.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So be unique, be on time. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Be very clear about your application, research some of the key things that you need to focus on when you want to apply for your dream school. I know you have already mentioned it a couple of times, but still I want to reiterate how the exams like GMAT is important for the application process. Nakul, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think the volume of applicants, particularly domestic applicants in our case, is it runs in thousands for a few of our programs, right? So having an objective criteria for selecting candidates is very important, right? And entrance exam results such as a GMAT, or we have the common admission test, which is CAT, and there's one more called XAT for different programs, right? That becomes of paramount importance. That may not be the sole decider of your admission process, but is definitely having a critical weight, right? So for particularly foreign candidates and international students, I think a GMAT is very important. Right. And over the years, as I was discussing with the GMAC team also, if I may say so, we've seen the number of applicants sending or sharing their GMAT score increase quantitatively. So, I mean, being a data person, I could not resist quoting that, right? So, but this is something which is happening, and this is we've seen recently. I mean, it could be just a very stochastic movement post the pandemic, or it could be a trend we are now embarking on, since we are also on the verge of launching a lot of new programs, right? Particularly in a hybrid, blended, and an online mode. So I think GMAT holds its critical weight in our case, along with other entrance examinations and evaluation components.
Great, thank you. Anu, if you'd like to talk about it.
Yeah, so GMAT is important. Just to mention here that the full-time MBA program at Imperial and the MSc International Management Program, these are the only two programs that have a GMAT requirement or GRE requirement for the admissions process. So you would definitely need to have the test with your application. It's extremely important to try and make sure that you prepare for your GMAT or GRE in advance, so that you have the test scores with your application and it's complete, ready to submit. What we found is that when we have that GMAT requirement, a lot of times candidates may not take the test sooner, and they may leave it for later, and that does delay their application review. And so what I would recommend is start looking at the GMAT GRE now. It can definitely help your application. If you get really strong scores, it can add weight to your application. And, you know, as Nakul mentioned, you know, when we have so many applications coming through, you know, a strong GMAT score can definitely add weight to your application, make you a bit more competitive. But definitely it does require you to prepare. So you should start looking at the tests now, you know, start, you know, taking some practice tests, start reading about the tests and how they sort of are, you know, given in terms of the timings, in terms of the prep time that you need, and that will definitely help you. And as I said, it can definitely help add weight to your application. But if you're targeting the full-time MBA or the MSc International Management Program at Imperial, it will be a requirement for the application.
Okay, great. Gale?
Yeah, I would echo much of what Anum and Nakul said. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have offered a GMAT and GRE waiver for the last couple of years, and we will continue to do that. But I would encourage candidates to take the GMAT for the reasons that my fellow panelists mentioned, that it really can be a differentiator in your application. A strong GMAT score will certainly, as Anum was saying, add weight to your application. So while it's not required, I would honestly encourage it for our listeners today.
Thank you so much. So for the exam GMAT, I would like to definitely focus on the thing that if you are planning to give GMAT, it is very, very essential that you plan it ahead. It at least require 2 to 3 months for you to prepare for GMAT. And GMAT is the beginning of your application process, because as all three of them has mentioned, that you have to get a lot of documents in place, you have to be focused, you have to research a lot, you have to think about the visa and other things, acceptance in the college. So first, the GMAT is the most easiest thing to be done at the beginning. So I think you should start there and understand that where you can actually stand. And to know more about the GMAT exam, we do have a lot of webinars that happen from time to time. I would definitely encourage you to visit them, and please visit mba.com. Also, there are a lot of information there. There are a lot of regarding tips and tricks how to prepare for GMAT. There are a lot of materials for you which are mostly free of cost. They're practice set 1 and 2, which you can try, and you can see where do you stand. So if you visit mba.com, you can actually see a lot of information there. And we are holding various sessions, so please join them, keep a lookout for it, and know a lot about the exam. So back to the conversation again. So tell us about the classes. How large is it? And what are the diversity aspect of it? And what measures do you take to achieve that, to have a diverse classroom? Gale, if you would like to go first.
Yeah, we feel that our program is really at the sweet spot of size. It's big enough to enable us to have a diverse class, but small enough that we get to know everyone, that everyone gets to participate fully and gets a lot of attention from our faculty and staff. So our entering class this past fall was 157 students, and we expect a slightly smaller class this year. But last fall, we had students coming from 26 different countries all over the world. And that was just a wonderful experience for the students in the classroom to be with fellow students from Asia, from Europe, from America, from Latin America, from Africa, from all over the world. It made for a really rich learning environment. And we expect something similar for our entering cohort this year. We really try to build a diverse class in terms of geographic, racial, religious, ethnic, gender backgrounds, and I think we do a great job of achieving that.
Great. Nakul, would you like to talk about it a little, please, about the classrooms?
Yeah, so see, I think for us, majority of the students are domestic candidates, and the international students are part of the class mostly as either an exchange student or they have taken a specialized course again in some sort of exchange. But now what is happening is that with offering of a lot of new programs, we are opening up to foreign applicants. And that's wherein the trend towards more people using GMAT to apply for programs at MDI is increasing. Now, class size depends on the program that one is applying for. So, for example, the PGDM program, right? So we had 4 sections of 60 students each, and now we are increasing to 5 sections of 60 students each. So that means 300 students alone for PGDM. Then we have the HR specialization, human resource management, and we have the international business one. So you can expect another few hundred students combining both of them. And then we have our doctoral students, the executive MBA students. So so we have a huge intake every year. And now hoping for more diversity in terms of nationalities in the times to come. But I think achieving the diversity which a lot of other international B schools have is still, I think, a way to go for us. But yes, people coming from different undergrads, different gender, different ethnicity, that is definitely happening here at MDI.
Okay. Anum, about Imperial?
Yeah, so as Nakul mentioned, our class sizes sort of differ across the different programs. So some of the MSc classes will be a lot bigger. One of the biggest classes we have is our strategic marketing program, and that has over 200 students. And then our MBA classes are slightly smaller. So for example, our full-time MBA classes, the current class we have is 53 students. We prefer to keep our MBA class slightly smaller to encourage that sort of learning environment where the students can participate with the faculty. The learning environment is encouraged by class participation, discussions and case studies. But the class itself is extremely diverse. We have people coming from all over the world. At the moment in the full-time MBA class, the average age would be around 30 years old. We have around 23 nationalities represented. 43% of our students are female, but across the board for Imperial programs, we sort of celebrate diversity and inclusion. We encourage applications from all over the world. We want our students to be part of a community. And so when you do look at the class profiles across the business school, you do see that. You see diversity, you see, strong female percentage, and you see different industry sectors also are sort of represented in our classes. So yeah, extremely diverse, and the sizes will differ depending on which program you're looking at.
Great to hear that. Thank you so much. So what is the best time to apply, and what are the timelines I should keep in mind if I am looking to apply in a B school like Imperial right now? So what is the timeline should I keep in mind?
Yeah, so for our programs, they start in September. So the full-time programs and some of the online programs that we have on offer. So what I would suggest is, if you're looking at a particular program, look at the application deadlines that we have. Some programs will have an application deadline, and some programs are conducted on a rolling basis. So if you are targeting a full-time MBA program, for example, we're going to have around 6 application deadlines for you to target in the cycle. Most likely our next intake for September 2023, applications will go live sometime in August. So you'll see all of the application deadlines that we have available for the program. And for you, I would say, if you're an international student coming from India, you'd want to target an early application deadline for yourself. So we always recommend round 1, round 2, or round 3 are perfect deadlines for you to target for yourself. Also gives you enough time to prepare your documents and application documents, and prepare for the GMAT as well. If you're targeting a program that's conducted on a rolling basis, again, I would recommend you try and apply as soon as possible. As an international student, you know, the sooner you have an offer from us, the better it is for you to meet offer conditions, and then, you know, start preparing to accept the offer, and you know, move towards the visa process. So I would always suggest apply early, and make sure that you're prepared in advance, so you have all the documents in order for your application.
Thank you. So you have to keep in mind the deadline and back calculate that how much time it's going to take, right? To be safe. Nakul, would you like to talk about the timelines and things?
Yeah, so again, it's very program specific. So for our full-time PGDM program, the last year's deadline, so the application started from September 21st, 2021, and they ended on November 26, 2021. So the deadline would be something similar. So I think for the updated deadline, what I would suggest is that the candidates should visit our website regularly. And not just the front page, but also the program pages also, because they have a lot of important information and updates. Because a lot of the programs are linked with, let's say, entrance examinations, accreditation granting regulatory authorities. So all these changes, and if any changes in program content, something new that we are bringing in, which is linked to the deadline or the program structure temporally. So those details can be found on our websites. The best sources, make it a point at least once a month. It's not much. Once a month per B school, just visit their website. I think that will keep people updated. So I think that's what I have to say about the application process, Upashana.
That's a very great insight. Once a month, you have to keep visiting the website because it's very dynamic. Keep changing the timelines.
Yes.
Flexible, exactly. Thank you so much. Gale, would you like to tell us about the application deadlines?
Sure. So we have 4 rounds of applications at Kelley. I would strongly encourage our listeners to apply in round 1 or round 2. So the round 1 deadline is in mid-October, and the round 2 deadline is in early January. We found for the last few years, and I expect it'll continue to be the case, that we've been able to meet our international student enrollment goals by round 2. And so people who apply in round 3 or round 4 from abroad really don't stand much of a chance of being admitted at that point. So I too would encourage candidates to get an early start, pull documents together, schedule their GMAT exams and whatever they need to do, and get going. Round 1 is the best of all if a candidate is ready and feels that their application is strong at that point. If not, round 2 is fine. But that would be my best advice to our listeners today.
Great. Thank you so much. Dr. Nakul, we have a question from the audience. What are your thoughts on finalization of Indian colleges after we have given GMAT and scored 650 or 700 plus in exam? And what should be our thought process while selecting a college?
I think it's a very good question, because this range of 650 to 700 is a very dicey. I mean, you would want to maximize your chances with respect to an Indian college. So what I would suggest is that a couple of factors which we've seen act as input variables to your decision is: one, if you have any locational preference; second, look at the placement stats; third, the faculty; fourth is the ranking of the institute; and fifth is, but of course, the average GMAT scores of past 2 to 3 years as available, because that would help you understand that even if you assume that there is going to be maybe a 10 point, 20 point average GMAT score increase, what are your chances to get into the college? So particularly for Indian colleges with GMAT score between 650 to 700. So there are chances that you can get into a good college if perhaps the application is done well. And second is I mean, we can call it as an application hack. You can have a look at a lot of good colleges coming up with new programs. Because what happens is the visibility of new programs sometimes takes time to percolate, but the benefits which the programs give to their, let's say, flagship programs and others can actually be accrued by these students. And that can help them, let's say, maximize the 650, 700 range GMAT score, particularly in the Indian context.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I have another question from the audience that it's to all three of you maybe. Hello, I have been working as an instructional designer for a little more than 7 years now. I am kind of at a point of my career where I'm looking for a change in domain. Anum or Gale, if you'd like to take that up.
Sure. So 7 years in instructional design, that's interesting. I would encourage the candidate to start doing some research and think about which skills they have that they'd like to continue to use, and which they might like to build upon, or what they might like to learn that's different. And then begin to think about career fields that would suit them and which schools would position them well for that future career. Instructional design is really very interesting. I'm sure the person has a lot of great technical skills and creativity that they can bring to bear in their MBA education and in a new career of their choosing.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Anum, I have a question for you. Does Imperial have advertisement and marketing courses?
Yes, so Imperial does have a strategic marketing MSc program, and we have a full-time version of the program, and then we have an online version which is completed purely online. So that's a pure strategic marketing degree that we have available. But then across the MBA programs, for example, we do offer different electives within marketing and strategic marketing as well. We don't necessarily cover advertising separately as such, but it might be elements within the marketing courses that you would take. So if you are interested within the marketing industry or learning more about marketing itself as a topic, then we'll have either the program strategic marketing available for you or the different electives. It really depends on whether you're looking for a pure degree in marketing, or you're looking for select sort of elective offerings across the different programs that we have on offer. So I would definitely advise you to look on the website, look at the program pages and the individual modules that we have on offer across the different programs.
Thank you, Anum. Thank you, Dr. Gupta, for joining us today. I know that you have a little bit other engagement. Thank you so much. It's
Yeah.
a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, and my apologies. I have to exit. So I had a competing engagement, but it was a pleasure. I think talking to all the applicants and Gale, Anum, and Upashana. Looking forward to maybe meeting you in person, either whenever you are in India or maybe we are there in, US or London. Yeah. So would stay connected. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Have a great evening. Anum and Gale, we have few more questions for you. I hope you could stay. So, please, I have a postgraduate diploma in public relation and corporate communication. I have been contemplating to build on academic knowledge and branch out to marketing/digital marketing. I have thinking about MBA for the specific shift. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Also would be able to advise a major would be more apt for MBA. Gale, would you like to share some insight for this?
Sure. I think that this, at first glance or first hearing anyway, this person's background sounds perfect for marketing, given their public relations, communication skills, and studies. I think that could position them very well for a pivot into marketing. At a school like ours, the student could not only major in marketing, but participate in one of our academies. I mentioned about our academies a little bit earlier, but we have both a consumer marketing path and a business marketing path. Depending on what the student was more interested in, they could customize their education accordingly. So I think this sounds like a very smart opportunity for the student. I'd be happy to talk with them more about it.
Great. To our audience, you already know the universities are happy to answer your question personally. Also, if you have more questions after this session, please feel free to connect with them, and they will be answering all the pending questions that we are not able to cover today evening. For Anum, I would like to ask, I have not scored well in my undergraduate and only have 6 months of work experience. How can I make my application stronger for business school abroad? If you have any tips.
So I'm assuming this person is probably a recent graduate if you only have the 6 months of work experience. So you're probably looking at a master's program at the business school, and our master's programs, they're designed for recent graduates. They don't require work experience as such, but we do appreciate internship experiences, and if you have 1 or 2 years of full-time work experience. Now, if you haven't done well in your undergraduate degree, what I would suggest is, depending on which program you're targeting, do look on the website for the entry requirements, because you can see international academic requirements for each of our programs, and you can see the breakdown of what we ask for Indian candidates as well. And it's important to understand the academic requirements, because for some programs they can be quite strict for Imperial College Business School. As long as you meet the minimum academic requirement, you are absolutely fine to still target your application and apply for the program. And of course, because we look at the application process holistically, there's other things that we will be looking at. For example, any extracurricular activities you've completed at university, any things that you're doing outside of your studies, any passions that you have, if you're part of clubs and societies, and then we'll also look at your work experience. So the 6 months, if it was an internship, what were you doing? What were your responsibilities? Where was the internship? We'll factor these things in alongside your career goals. And as long as you meet that minimum academic requirement, you should be fine. But what I would advise you, depending on the program you're looking at, do check those entry requirements out so you can understand if you do meet that academic requirement. For the MBA programs, it's slightly different because we will factor in your work experience, but of course we will require a certain amount of minimum work experience, so that's 3 years. for most of our MBA programs. So 3 years full-time work experience is what we look for. But hopefully that's given you some help there.
Okay, so this question is basically to both of you. I am planning a career pivot from sales to more strategic role. What kind of program should I go for abroad so that I also get an international exposure that it helps me in my career pivot? So anybody would like to take it first? Maybe Gale would like to talk about it first.
So if I understood correctly, the listener wants to pivot from sales to strategy.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So I think that they should look for an MBA program or a graduate business program that's going to give them a broad-based education. So they want to learn a lot of different things, not just strategy, but they want to learn finance, they want to learn marketing, they want to learn operations and things like that. I mean, every subject feeds into business strategy. So they can use other criteria that they might have about the location where they prefer to study or the size of the program that they prefer and things like that. But I would also recommend that they just look for a broad-based educational program and one that works with career switchers too.
Great.
That would probably be.
Thank you so much. Anum, if you would like to add anything to it.
Yeah, I think Gale has pretty much sort of summarized it really nicely. I think an MBA program will definitely help this individual because they'll get that breadth of understanding across the different modules on an MBA program. You know, it does cover things like finance, strategy. It does cover things like marketing as well. And it's important if you are looking to make a switch for your career, you need to understand what the business school can offer in terms of the program, but also the career service. You know, career service play a huge role for MBA candidates. You will have careers representatives that will help you as you're studying your program. And if you're looking to make a switch, you know, you will have a careers representative who will be able to advise you on roles within strategy, for example, and what sort of things you can be doing as a student and in terms of your studies to help you then bring out those strategic skills. So I think an MBA will be a good option for the individual, definitely.
Great. Thank you, Gale. Thank you, Anum, for taking out time today. It's almost 7:30. We are now close the session. It was pleasure talking to you, and I myself have learned a lot about the school, colleges, different programs. You were very, very enlightening. Along with me, our audience also would agree with that. Thank you for taking out the time.
Thank you so much for having us, Upashana. It was great.
Yes, thank you. It was great to be here today.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. We are now going to close the session. I hope we are able to answer your questions today. If you have any more pending questions that are there, please contact Imperial and Kelley Business School. They are happy to help you with your application, and I'm sure that today you're going with some of the key important things that is very important for your application process. And all the best to you. Have a great evening. Thank you, everybody.